Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordan here with episode 50.
That's kind of a cool number.
I know. I actually did not know that until I just read that on the sheet of paper.
Episode 50. Save the drama for your mama.
I wanted you to say it because I thought you came up with the title, and I knew it was going to be a little spicy.
It's not super. It is relevant to what you're talking about, but it's a little extra for what you're talking about. So blame me. It's not to have lack of compassion. It is just to be funny. Save the drama for your mama.
Episode 50. I feel like we should be doing something bigger.
I think we'll save that for like 100 or something.
Gosh, that's a long way off.
We're celebrating the small wins. Yay for 50. That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. Yeah. I'm proud of us.
For us, that's a lot.
Let's go.
If you listened last week, we talked about a new kind of
format
we're adding to the podcast. And it's just that about once a month, we want to bring one of you on. And Pete primarily will kind of coach you through something that you want to talk about. You want to talk more about that?
Well, I'm really, I don't know. When we were kind of just brainstorming goals for this new year for our podcast, I think at the top of that list was trying to create more community. Mm-hmm. And we have some other ideas around that. But one of the ways was, a little more interaction.
Yeah. Where
we could have some of you on from time to time, and you just bring whatever you're kind of going through in life. Like, let's take it another level past. You guys all the time email us with, hey, would you guys talk about this or talk about that? And we're more than happy to do that and appreciate that feedback and input. Sure. But I just want to bring some of you on and let's talk. Let's have a conversation about your life, and let us ask you a couple questions and see if there's, maybe just one insight that you can get out of that conversation that could maybe be life-changing for you.
Yeah, and other people. I think that's what, if you've ever been in any kind of group coaching format, or even like think back to school, when someone else asks a question, you get to benefit from it too. Mm-hmm. I really think that that's going to be something that we see come from this too. It's because you guys have great insight and your experiences matter, and it really helps bring context to some of the stuff that we talk about besides just our stories, which I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing of by now. So that really just kind of helps broaden the experiences and insights and just conversation, I think. So
that's really fun.
If you want to be a part of that, shoot us an email at info@theplaceforgood.com. And you'll just shoot us an email and just kind of tell us what you want to talk about. We've had some great entries already, so we're super excited to get started on those. But yeah, if you're interested, shoot us an email and we will reach out to you. And obviously we can't get to everybody, but we definitely want to try. So shoot us that email, info@theplaceforgood.com.
Woohoo.
I'm excited. Speaking of save the drama for your mama, when we were talking about this title, I thought about how all the TV shows I watch right now are dramas or have so much like spicy drama in it. Like, so here's the 4 that we're watching. Okay. I say we. You're only partaking in a couple of these. One of them is The Bachelor. So don't hate on us. It's just like the guilty pleasure of our Monday evenings. We love that show. So much drama.
It is a lot of drama. And I don't know if we love it.
No,
it's okay.
We used to love it.
Yeah.
Now we kind of just, it's something that's on. We used to really love it. We had a couple friends who've been on the show, and I love the insights that they give us. Too. Like how the rose ceremonies go from like the late afternoon into the morning. Like it's just wild. Like, and I'm sure the producers are just have their main hand in it, and that is the drama in and of itself. Anyway, The Bachelor.
Yep.
Second one, I just started and finished over a weekend. You were traveling for work. Emily in Paris. It's on Netflix.
I have not watched it.
You have not watched it. It's very girly. Like it is just a girl show. It's this like cute girl who goes out into Paris and is working, and she's a marketing genius, which is a part of why I love it so much. And then she falls in love with like 19 guys, and it's just like your typical.
Sounds a lot like The Bachelor.
Right, exactly. There is a theme. And then the other 2 are actual dramas. The Morning Show.
Yeah, we just
which
started
has
that
Jennifer
one.
Aniston
Really
and Steve Carell and Reese Witherspoon on Apple TV. That's pretty good.
It's really getting into some important topics too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then the last one is This Is Us, which is not an old one. It's just they're in their last season.
I know. I love This Is Us.
I can't handle it.
I cry a solid 70% of the time watching that show.
Yeah, that's how we rank if it's good or not. The episode is whether or not we cried in it.
Yeah.
But no, anyways, I went on a random
So those are your top
rabbit
4
trail. What
TV
do you
shows
have
right
any
now.
that are not on that list?
No, I don't. That's it.
Great. Just me. I'm just a television addict. I'm not. We watch about an hour and a half at night. That's like our wind down, trying to get out of the daily.
Oh, Yellowstone. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, but
by far.
we finished.
But it's not
that.
on right now.
Oh, that is by far my favorite show in a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too. It's
Anyways, so as we're talking about
Save the drama for your mama.
Can we actually talk about it besides like television shows?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited to kind of jump into this. This is something kind of new I've been kind of reading up about and studying, and so I'm probably a little too soon for me to be teaching on it, so I'm a little glued to the notes today. But I'm excited about this. I've been reading a book called The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. It's a great book. And in the book, she talks a lot about the drama triangle. I say a lot, not really, just a page or two, but it was enough to for me to, and I'd heard of it before, but to really want to kind of lean into it a little more.
The drama triangle?
Mm-hmm. And the idea is when all of us, when we were little kids, there's a dynamic that formed that most of us probably were completely unaware of as children. But, everybody was kind of fit into just a couple very simple categories. When you're a small child and you're kind of helpless, you have people who seem kind of large and mean and scary. And then there are the people that appear to be your protectors. So, growing up, I remember I was scared of monsters. I used to have terrible dreams about these monsters chasing me. And my parents, were always viewed as the protectors. Mm-hmm. And, when you're a child, you are to some degree helpless and somewhat of a victim of everything that happens in your life.
Right.
And so, you see the mean people actually would be called persecutors in the drama triangle, and then the parents or the helpers are considered to be the rescuers. Now, again, that's just a very simple kind of idea of what the drama triangle is. It develops when someone is small and weak and powerless. Now, the issue is that even as adults, many of us have the tendency to continue to look in this triangle as a way of viewing everyone and every situation. So life becomes this play where there's really only 3 possible roles, right? There's the victim, there's the persecutor, and then there's the rescuer. Mm. And that creates what they call the drama triangle. And people, get stuck in the victim role, always have targets to blame, people that they see as the persecutors, and they often turn to other people for help and support. These are the rescuers who kind of play that final role in the triangle. And so you have the victim, you have the persecutor, and then you have the rescuer. And these aren't as much a description of who you are as much as it's a description of how you react in certain situations.
So the rescuer has to not be in that situation. So it's not someone you're just gossiping to just for the heck of it. It's someone you're trying to get to help you.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you feel like you're helpless.
Okay.
And so you're looking for someone to tell you what to do, how to get out of this, or even do it for you.
Okay.
Now, the reality is we all play all 3 of these roles almost every day. Almost every day at some point, you can shift without even thinking about it. And the way you react to a particular situation or a relationship, you can shift from being a victim in one minute to being the rescuer in another situation to being the persecutor in one of them, right? So we all play these different roles at different times, and it's, again, about how we respond more than it is about our identity. Perpetual victims never stop complaining about all the terrible things that the persecutors do to them, and they don't take any action at all to improve the situation. They rely on other people to play the rescuer role. They rely on other people to solve the problem for them. And then the perpetual rescuers, right, and this would be me a lot. I tend to very easily and naturally slide into that rescuer role, are often kind of empathetic type folks who play the role of galloping to the aid of one person after another, and that can become their identity or certainly their response in different situations. And almost nobody sees themselves as the persecutor. I don't care if Hitler, Stalin, none of them saw themselves as the persecutor.
True, yeah.
They always saw themselves as the one who was being threatened or victimized, but everyone around them knows better, right? Knows that they are actually the persecutor. So creating a drama triangle, honestly, is very easy. You just choose a target to blame for whatever's going on in your life and cast yourself as a victim and sit back and relax, confident that the anger and the arguments and the threatening will go on forever until you choose some other course of action.
Besides trying to find a rescuer for you.
Yes. And blaming other people for the quote unquote situation that you find yourself in currently. So the flip side of this, and this is what is really interesting, there is an alternative to the drama triangle. There are more than these three roles that often play out in everyday life. Those are the three most common, but we can flip that. And I think this is really important because getting out of the triangle or the drama triangle, it's simple, it's just not easy. And it hinges on what Martha Beck would say is one single act of integrity. And that's acknowledging that we're capable of choosing our responses to other people and situations, no matter what.
Say that again.
Okay. I actually was going to.
Okay, great.
It's this one simple act of integrity. If you want to get out of that drama triangle, is acknowledging that we're capable of choosing our responses to other people and situations, no matter what.
Okay.
You're capable.
We're capable of essentially taking control of our own emotions instead of taking our emotions and putting it into somebody else who ultimately can't do that for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So there's a guy by the name of David Emerald who created what he called the anti-triangle. He calls it the empowerment dynamic. And it goes through each one of those roles and gives you the flip of that. Now, I'm going to make this real practical in a second, so hang with me if this sounds a little bit like heady. Yeah. I understand it is, but I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. What he does with the empowerment dynamic, which is where we want to live as much as we possibly can, right, is the victim turns into a creator, the persecutor turns into the challenger, and the rescuer turns into a coach. Okay? So in this pattern, people who were once the persecutor now become the challenger. That's much different, right? So they force other people now to rise to new levels of strength and competency. They see themselves as truth tellers and sometimes say what's unpopular, but they say it in a much different way than the persecutor would, right? And so challengers focus on the issues, not the person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when they speak truth, it's safe, and it's often sparks learning and growth, which are important. Like often, I tell you where I would want to play the role of a challenger. When I speak, I often want to, when I'm speaking in an environment where I'm in front of an audience, I want to bring up certain truths that I think maybe they haven't thought of and challenge them with those truths. But I want to speak about the issues in such a way that I'm not speaking towards the person in a judgmental way if they're not living out that truth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. It's essentially like hoping to guide a direction instead of shaming someone into a decision.
Yep. But the challenger believes I tell the truth about current reality without blame or judgment. They're truth tellers, and they are just, that challenger in that moment, again, is going to step into that truth, even if it's a hard truth, but they're going to try to communicate it in the most loving way where it's not about blame and judgment. It's more about the situation than it is the person.
So we're taking this triangle, which was the drama triangle, and taking each of the points. And if we were one of those points, how you can shift it into a healthy way.
That's right.
Okay. I was thinking of it in like, if the person who was prosecuting us changed into a challenger, but that's obviously that's out of our control. So it's when we want to take a position.
That's right.
Of challenge. Okay, got it.
Yep. So when you think about those three roles in a drama triangle, it's like, how does that play out in a healthy way?
Okay.
Again, someone that's stuck in victim mindset is going to go into every situation in their life thinking that there's only three roles that can possibly exist out there. And it is the role of the victim, the role of the persecutor, and the role of the rescuer. This is saying, oh, actually there's an empowerment dynamic here where we can flip this. And now, instead of being the persecutor, maybe you become the challenger. In the same way, the second thing is that rescuers now become coaches. So instead of jumping in to soothe and fix, poor you, let me do that for you, they say, wow, It's an awful situation that you're in. What are you going to do about it? Right? And a coach believes to the core of their being, I believe in leaving the power with others as they clarify what it is that they want. The coach doesn't force solutions on the creator. The coach knows that the creator can find their own solutions with just a little bit of help, perhaps, right? If the coach refrains from jumping in and taking control, it empowers the other person's creativity to come up with their own solution. So let me give you an example right now. I have a friend who's going through a really tough time.
About to ask you about that. Okay.
And the tendency for me with him is to do what I've done a lot of my life, which is to play the rescuer. So I'm going to come to your side and I'm going to tell him step by step, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to call this person, you need to look for this job, you need to, and just rattle. And it could seem like that's a really helpful thing. And man, it makes me feel good. And in the moment, it makes him feel good. But it's actually not empowering him to make his own decisions.
Nor is it probably going to be long lasting when he's not the one making that decision in the first place.
That's right. It won't be. It won't stick. It won't last. The change will change. There's very little change or transformation that happens when you play the rescuer role to someone who's choosing to play the victim role.
Yeah.
That's it. What you can do, though, is you can choose, instead of trying to play the rescuer, you can try to play the coach, and you can empower them. And when you empower them, what that does is it gives them the best chance to move from victim to this creator.
So again, in that situation or in any situation, like you have a friend who's going through something, and instead of rescuing them, you're essentially asking them what they think they need to do.
Yeah.
And what if they have a bad answer? What if they're like, truly, I'm asking that seriously. Like, what if they're like, oh, and they spin into a cycle of bitterness and unhealthy, like toxic talk.
Well, they're going to do that to some degree, but you're going to kind of let them spin in that in their own. Sometimes what I'll do with somebody who is, who I'm encouraging to try to help find a solution to their issue, and I'm like, well, what do you think you should do now? And they'll give me an answer that I'm like, but instead of saying, oh, that's stupid, that's not going to work, I might say, well, what else?
Out. Yeah.
I'll say, what else?
Yeah.
Got any other ideas?
Yeah.
And then they'll keep going until they land on one that I'm like, there you go. I think that might be it. How does that feel to you?
Right.
Right. And so rescuers rescue for a lot of different reasons, but one of the things, it's a control thing, right? We want to control what this person does because we think we know best. But at some point, you have to empower them to come up with their own solution, or they're going to continue to stay in that victim mindset and let other people do everything for them.
Okay, that's good. So we've done. What's the third one?
Well, the third one is obvious now, right? And I think it's the most empowering shift. It's where the victims become the creators, where victims believe, that their situation is unbearable and I'm helpless. Creators begin to ask themselves, this situation is messed up. What can I make from it? Okay. It's that shift. You hear me talk about this a lot. This shift from viewing life as if life's happening, to me, to a shift that life is happening for me. And there's something here in this moment, in this situation, in this circumstance that I can learn from, right? A creator's perspective, like their core belief is going to be, I am sufficient, I am whole, I am complete, and I'm also responsible for choosing my responses in life. I'm responsible, right? Where the victim says, I can't, the creator is going to say, oh, I can. And they take responsibility, and they spend a lot less energy trying to change situations over which they have no control. And the problem is, here's what I know. Everybody right now who tends to, like, their natural tendency is to slide into the victim role. What you're saying right now is, but I am a victim, right? I'm justified. What happened to me isn't right. And maybe so. This isn't about whether what happened to you was right or wrong. This is about, while you may be genuinely victimized, you never want to accept victim as your identity or as your response. Because in that moment, you've given your power away. Completely given your power away.
You're giving your power away to the one thing you're blaming, which if you have any like vengeance in your heart about it, like that's the opposite thing that you want to do in that moment. You don't want to give any more power to that individual, to that job, to that whatever, then you already have.
Yeah. And we have the freedom to respond in every situation with creative thought and action, right? You don't have to buy into this illusion that outside forces are in complete control of your life. And that's how some people live their life. It's this, we talk sometimes about the default future versus created future. Some people are just living life with this default future. They just think life is happening to them all the time, and it's their boss's fault, it's their parents' fault, and again, I'm not saying they haven't been victimized in some particular situations, but when you choose to respond as a victim, as if this is all out of my control and it's all just happening to me, there's nothing I can do about it, in that moment you're not an empowered individual. You're completely living on default, and you're giving all your power away to all the other cast of characters that are in your life. And for those of you who want to always play the rescuer, you're enabling that. And so some of you are really frustrated right now because you're in a relationship with someone who always takes the victim mindset. And you're always, pointing finger. But the reality is it's quite possible that you're the one enabling them to continue to live in that role by always trying to play the rescuer.
It's so true. I feel that one deeply.
Yeah.
I had a whole... Yeah, I mean, be perfectly honest, I feel like I was rescuing my husband in my first marriage. That's why I got married. I thought I was rescuing him from a life that maybe he didn't love, or like a past that he didn't love. And I thought like, oh, I'm gonna give you a better life. I'm gonna do all these things. Everything in his past, he had a reason for why it happened, and he was a victim of that. No hate, no judgment here. This is just truth. That's at least what he communicated to me. And so I thought, I can help with that. And look what it ended up. Like, you cannot rescue someone if they don't want to be rescued. Or if they don't even know they need rescuing. Hello. But anyways, I've been in the seat of a victim as well. So I'm not pointing fingers here. I've lived that life too. But it's just that one really like knocks me on my feet because you think you're doing a good thing. That's the hardest part. When you're a victim, I feel like a lot of times you don't necessarily think, oh, I'm doing such a good thing. Maybe you think I feel like I'm sticking it to them, but you don't feel like this is good. Whereas a rescuer, it's like a hidden like pain that you don't realize is coming because you think you're doing the right thing. And it's really hard. So it's a noble thought. It's just not a effective long-term helpful thought for that individual.
If you're a rescuer right now, let me talk to you for just a second. That would include you, Jordan. You need to know two things about change. Number one, people can change. Number two, you can't change them. You got to remember that, right? People can change for sure. You can't change them. You're not going to bring about that change. And I know, again, as a rescuer, long term, that is the role. I love to slide into that because it can feel heroic. You feel like you're making a difference, but often you're just enabling, and it doesn't lead to lasting change, growth, or transformation.
So like my compassion heart wants to say, you cannot change someone, but you can love someone through their change.
Absolutely.
So like I know you know that. I'm not saying you would never say that, but I feel like that can feel very like, oh, I can't change them, so I'm just going to sit back and watch. I have experienced great supplemental change and love when someone comes alongside me, but I had to make the decision, right? So it's I just want to say that because my like heart kind of crumbles when I think of like we can't do anything to help change. True, but we can love someone as they are.
Totally,
in them. And
that's part of transitioning from the rescuer to the coach. As a coach, it doesn't mean that you're distancing yourself. You're loving them, but you're loving them in such a way that you're saying, I'm going to give you the freedom to make some choices on your own, which is going to help you transition from being a victim to being a creator.
Right.
And I'm going to support those wise decisions as you make them. I'm here for you. Let's brainstorm this. You're not alone. But you're allowing them to make these choices, and you're not trying to step into a situation or force things upon them that you think are right for their life.
Right. So good. I love it. That's really all those angles are good.
Some of you say, well, what the heck do I do with that? Here's what I would say, because it's very interesting to me. I try now in different environments and situations and conversations to just pause and say, okay, what role am I playing right now? In this role right now, in this argument, I think about you and I got in an argument last night. It was late. I'd been out of town and traveling, and I didn't do it in that moment because I was tired. But like now, I think back to that situation.
He wanted to sit in the hot tub, and I didn't. The end.
Right, and I played well, you don't have to make it sound that simple. It was a little more complex than that. All right, it was. There's a little bit more to this.
You wanted to relax after work. I know. Okay, go ahead.
Either way, my response to that, looking back, I played the victim. I just did, and I cast you as the persecutor in the whole story. And so you're smiling with just such gratefulness that I am discovering this in this moment. But I'm just talking about, how do you make this practical? In every situation, in every environment, whether it's in your marriage, in your workplace, among your friends, just pause for a moment and say, okay, what role am I playing here? Mm-hmm. And if you find yourself playing the victim, you should say, okay, how could I actually take a little ownership here and instead play the creator? And if you find yourself being the persecutor, which rarely are you going to come to that conclusion on your own,
yeah.
But it's, okay, how could I actually be the challenger here and talk about the issue, not the person? Mm-hmm. And then if you are playing the rescuer role and you're the one trying to come up with all the things they need to be doing in that moment, it's a pause for a second and then saying, oh, wait. I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm not going to be the rescuer here. I am going to be the coach. I'm going to come alongside them and help them and encourage them along the way.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. I was like, I like the practical application at the end. That makes sense to me and very doable, I think.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. Love to hear from you guys what you think about it. And hopefully it'll be helpful.
And on the same vein, rate, review our podcast. That is super helpful for us. You guys have been so amazing in doing that in the past. And we have a free resource if you do review our podcast on iTunes. iTunes specifically, you can actually leave a review, whereas others you can only rate it. So if you do that, take a screenshot or take a picture of your review and send it to us, and we'll send you a free journal. It's called the 30 Days of Good, and it's basically just 30 days, walks you through one day at a time. You can do it whenever you want. You don't have to start at the beginning of the month, but just has a very short application for your day. Kind of like a very, again, brief teaching. And then at the end, just gives you a place to practice your gratitude, ask you 3 things you're grateful for every day, and kind of see if that shifts your mindset. So if you do that, email us at info@theplaceforgood.com. And we'll shoot you that free resource. It's digital, so you can do it on your iPad or your phone or whatever. So that is something that we love to send out for your awesome, sweet words.
I love it. Thank you guys as always, and we'll talk to you real soon.